What if you woke up surrounded by darkness, enclosed in a tiny box? You can scream and scratch the box until your fingers bleed, but no one can hear you because you are buried 6 feet in the ground. The air is being consumed at a rapid rate, being stolen by your frantic screams. You'll suffocate before anyone could even find you. This is Everything is Spooky in the Dark, the podcast for Wandering Crystal. And today, we're going to be talking about being buried alive. What if those around you thought you breathed your last breath? Your family, your doctor, and even the coroner believed you were dead. The thought of being buried alive is terrifying. But what makes it even scarier is that it has happened a lot. Apparently, in the Victorian times, people were buried alive at least once a week. But don't worry if you get buried alive. Your fear won't be long-lasting, as most people die of asphyxiation. The coffin or casket has a very limited supply of oxygen, and if you were panicking, you'll run out of air even faster. The fear of being buried alive was so common that people decided to do something about it to help ease people's anxiety. Everything from placing a bell above ground so if the dead was not truly deceased, they could pull the cord, which was actually attached to the hands and feet of a corpse, to ring the bell and alert anyone nearby that they were still alive. The problem with the safety bell feature is when bodies decompose, they release gases and the corpses would bloat. So as the bodies expanded, they would start to ring the bell and people would rush over and see that this person was actually very dead. Another invention called a safety coffin was created by Dr. Adolf Gutsmuth in 1822. He constructed a coffin with a feeding tube, which allowed for the people above to send food down to be consumed. Apparently, to test this out, he was buried for several hours while enjoying a feast of sausages and beer. Another man invented a coffin with a window, for sunlight and fresh air. The coffin was locked, I guess to keep people out of it. I don't know if body snatchers were an issue, but to keep things safe, the corpse had special keys that would allow him to unlock the coffin, escaping to freedom. Speaking of body snatchers, though, I recently did a podcast about Burke and Hare, who are infamous serial killers who are often tied in with body snatching. But I do wonder if body snatchers ever stumbled upon a person who was buried alive. And what would they do? They're there to steal their corpse. The fear of being buried alive is called taphophobia, and although people are less likely to be buried alive today, the thought is still scary enough to live on, and someone that you know might be scared of being buried alive. Or you. I mean, am I scared of being buried alive? I guess, not really. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I guess not, because I would know if I was scared of it. But the fear is still so strong because with all of the tales of exhuming bodies, opening the coffins, and seeing the inside torn to shreds, covered in blood and fingernail scratches, is terrifying. So with stories of a man falling into prolonged lethargy, thought to be dead until he started to sweat inside the coffin, to a woman who was sedated by tea that contained morphine, who woke up in her grave, started to scream, and was discovered by children playing nearby. How were people able to tell who was really dead and who was still alive? Some people would refuse burial, temporarily anyway, and they would ask doctors or relatives to check on them every day for a few days to ensure that they were really dead. Once confirmed, or once they started to rot, they would then be buried. Other ways, as previously discussed, was the invention of safety coffins with air holes, feeding tubes, alarms, and even windows, so you could check to see if your loved one was truly deceased. One other way they would check was a tad more brutal. Doctors would shock the body with pain, such as pressing red-hot irons into people's hands or twisting the tongue, thinking that causing pain in a sensitive body part would revive the body. If there was no reaction, they were presumed to be dead. I'm not really sure if many people who were buried alive actually made it back out of the coffin alive. There are several stories and tales twisted and turned into urban legends of people being buried alive only to be saved just in time, which is doubtful because the air in a coffin usually lasts maybe around 30 minutes, I think max up to like an hour, but if you're panicking and you're breathing heavily, it's going to be less time. So I can't confirm if there's any truth behind people, or there's stories and legends of people being buried alive and then their family finds them in time. But it has been confirmed that many people have been buried alive throughout history and then were dead because they died a second time in their coffin. It's a scary thought, and I can see why people still fear being buried alive today. Now, I have to go check on YouTube for videos about how to survive being buried alive so I can sleep later tonight. Are you scared of being buried alive? What would you do if you woke up buried deep beneath the earth in a small, dark coffin? I'd panic. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to Everything is Spooky in the Dark. If you want to read about dark travels around the world, be sure to check out the blog at wanderingcrystal.com. Bye.